Alright, so this set of notes is going to go just like the last one. So you'll need a piece of paper, a calculator, and a pencil. I'll do a problem just like one on the worksheet, and then you'll go try the one on the worksheet. So pause it, get everything you need, and we'll get started. Alright, 1, 3, and 5 on your worksheet look like this. It's really easy. It's just a proportion, so we're going to solve it by cross multiplying. So I'm going to do 5 times x and get 5x. When you cross multiply here, you're going to multiply to both of them. So 2 times x is 2x. Bring my minus. And 2 times 3 is 6. Now this is a simple equation that we can solve. So I'm going to start by moving my 2x. It's a positive, so I'm going to subtract it. 5x minus 2x is 3x. Here, this minus stays with the 6, so I'm going to bring down a negative 6. Last, the 3 is multiplying. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. And negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. So that's your answer for this example. If you go to the worksheet, it looks just like 1 and 3, cross multiply on 3, and 5, cross multiply on 5. So you can do 1, 3, and 5 on your worksheet. So do those and then come back to this video. Okay, so this is what number 2 looks like on your worksheet. I'm going to start. Eventually we're going to go back to a proportion and we're going to cross multiply. So I'm going to turn this 4 into a fraction. And the way you change a whole number into a fraction is you put a 1 underneath it. So that's going to become 4 over 1. On the right hand side, I'm going to combine those fractions. I'm going to add them. That's like what we've been doing on the past 2 worksheets. So I need a common denominator, which is going to be 5x. Now, on this first fraction, I already have the x. I need the 5. So if I multiply by 5 on the bottom, I also am going to do it on top. So on top, I'm going to get 10. On this fraction, I have the 5, but I need the x. So I'm going to multiply by x here and here. So I'm going to have 10 plus 1x. Now it is a proportion and I can cross multiply. 4 times 5 is 20x. Cross multiply here. Again, the 1 goes to both of them. 10 times 1 is 10. Bring your plus. 10 times 1x is 1x. I'm going to move my 1x over. It's adding. The opposite of adding is subtracting. I'm going to subtract 1x. 20 minus 1 is 19x. These cancel. I'm going to bring down 10. The 19 is multiplying with the x, and the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So in your calculator, you're going to do 10 divided by 19. You get a super long decimal. Change it to a fraction. Hit math, enter, enter. And you get 10 over 19. So you can do number 2 on your worksheet now. You can see you're going to put a 1 under this 2 and then add these fractions. And you should be able to do number 2. So do that and then unpause it and come back to the video. Number 4 looks like this. Same thought process as before. I'm going to turn this into a fraction. So 5 minus m will be my numerator. 1 will be my denominator. I'm going to leave this side as 4 over m. So just like on the past 2 problems we've done, we're going to cross multiply. 4 times 1 is 4. This m multiplies to both. So I would like to start off left to right. So 5 times m is 5m. It's a minus. And m times m is m squared. So this is going to turn into a factoring problem. I'm going to move my m squared and my 5m to the left. Here's why. Factoring, we always want our squared to be positive, and right now it's a negative. But I know that if I move it to the left, moving it means do the opposite. So now when I move it, it's going to become a positive. So that goes away. And I'm going to go ahead and move my 5m. It's a positive, so to move it, I would subtract it. Okay, so I've moved everything to the left. I'm going to rewrite it now. The important thing to remember when you're rewriting it, put the squared first, and then the letter, and then the whole number at the end. So I'm going to start with my m squared. It was a positive. Then I have a minus 5m, because when I moved it, it became minus 5m. And then I'm left with a 4, and it's a positive, so I would put positive 4. And on the right-hand side, I have 0. So we're going to factor. If you remember factoring, you do first times last, so that gives me 4m squared. And your middle term is a negative 5. You want to figure out what you can multiply to get 4 and add to get negative 5. So we could do 1 and 4 or 2 and 2. Well, none of those will add to give you a negative, but if I made both of these negatives, I still multiply and get positive because a negative times a negative is a positive. And I add these two to get negative 5. Negative 1 plus negative 4 is negative 5. So let's factor. Do your two parentheses. Split up your m squared into an m and an m. It's a minus 1 and a minus 4. The way you solve this is you set both of them equal to 0. So I'm going to set m minus 1 equal to 0, and I'm going to set m minus 4 equal to 0. So to solve this one, I would add 1, and 0 plus 1 is 1. To solve this one, I would add 4, and 0 plus 4 is 4. Now, here's something important that we're going to need to start checking. If you ever have fractions, like this is a fraction, and you have a letter in the denominator, you have to plug in your answers to make sure you never get 0 in the denominator, because you can't divide by 0. Okay, so if I plugged in a 1 right here, 4 divided by 1 is 4. We're good. If I plugged in a 4 here, 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we're good. Both of these work. So number 4 has two answers, 4 and 1. All right, so go try number 4 on your worksheet and then come back to this. Okay, number 6 is already set up in a nice, pretty proportion, so we're just going to cross multiply. 2 times 8 is 16. Multiply the x to both of them. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 6 is a negative 6x. Again, I need to move everything on one side so that I can factor. The x squared is already positive, so instead of moving things left like we did on the last problem, I'm going to move this 16 to the right. So I'm going to put minus 16 at the end of this. So this is what I'm factoring. X squared minus 6x minus 16. So again, to factor, you do first times last and your middle. So I could do like negative 16 and 1. I could do negative 2 and 8. This is the one I'm going to, I just, by looking at it, can tell. I'm going to use 8 and negative 2. If I multiply those, I get negative 16. If I add them, I get negative 6. So this is what I'm using, 2 and negative 8. So let's factor. Split up your x squared into an x and an x. I got a positive 2 and a negative 8 as my answers. To solve them, you set them equal to 0. Here I would subtract 2. So I get negative 2. Here I would add 8 and get 8. So my answers are negative 2 and 8. Again, I want to make sure if I plugged either of them in the denominator, I would not get 0, and I wouldn't. If I plugged in negative 2, it'd still be negative 2. If I plugged in 8, it'd be 8. So both of those answers work. So if you'll pause it, go try number 6 on your worksheet, and then come back to me. Number 7 looks like this. I'm going to go ahead and take care of the right-hand side because it's easy. I'm just going to turn this into a fraction. So 10 over 1. The left-hand side is not so easy, but we've been doing worksheets on this. So my common denominator is going to be x and an x plus 3. So this first fraction, I already have my x. I need to multiply by x plus 3. And if I do it on the bottom, I also do it on the top. So I'm going to have 8 and x plus 3. And put my plus. This side already has the x plus 3, but I need to add in the x. And if I do it on the top, on the bottom, I have to do it on the top. So here I'm going to have x times 10 minus, or 10x, sorry, 10x minus 6. So common denominators. So let's start simplifying. I'm going to distribute. So I get 8x plus 24. I'm going to distribute and distribute. So x times 10x is 10x squared. X times negative 6 is negative 6x. And I'm just going to leave the bottom as x, parentheses x plus 3. Okay, let's combine like terms on, well, I'll bring this down. It's all 10 over 1. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in descending order. So I'm going to start with the x squared. So I'm going to put 10x squared first. I can combine my x's. 8x minus 6x is a positive 2x. And I have plus 24. I am actually going to go ahead and distribute this x. So I'm going to get x squared plus 3x. And I still have 10 over 1. Ugh, I know it looks gross, but this next step, you're going to see it gets a lot easier. So here, look, I'm going to distribute 1 to all 3 of these. So 1 times 10x squared is still 10x squared. 1 times 2x is still 2x. And 1 times 24 is still 24. Here, I'm going to distribute 10 to both. So I'm going to get 10x squared plus 3 times 10 is 30x. Now look, oh, this is why it gets easy. If I move this 10x squared over to like combine like terms and solve this equation, look, they cancel. 10 minus 10 is nothing. 10 minus 10 is nothing. It's going to work out like that on your problem on the worksheet also, so don't stress. It's going to work out. Next up, I'm going to move my 2x over here. So I'm going to subtract 2x. The reason I chose to move the x instead of the 24 is because I have an x over here. So I'm going to bring down 24. 30 minus 2 is 28x. These are multiplying. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I'm going to divide by 28. So type in your calculator 24 divided by 28. You get a super long decimal. Change it to a fraction. Hit math, enter, enter. And you get 6 over 7. So again, when you do this problem on your worksheet, your x squareds are going to cancel. So don't stress about it too much because they're going to cancel and you'll be all right. All right, next up, number 8. Looks like this. I'm going to go ahead and make this 7, turn it into a fraction. So nothing really changes on the left-hand side. We still have 6b minus 3 over b plus 2. On the right-hand side, we got to subtract these fractions. So my common denominator is going to be b minus 1. This, I got to multiply by b minus 1. And if I do it on the bottom, I also have to do it on the top. So I'm going to get 7 and b minus 1. This already has the b minus 1. So I'm just going to rewrite the b plus 3. Now, it's important that you put it in parentheses. because, look, this is a subtraction, and that subtraction is going to have to distribute to both of them. Okay? So let's start combining like terms. Over here, this stays the same, 6b minus 3 over b plus 2. Here, I'm going to go and distribute, and I get 7b. Distribute, and I get minus 7. Okay? So I distributed there. Now I'm going to combine my b's. 7b minus 1b. 7b minus 1b is 6b. This is a negative 7 minus 3. Negative 7. This minus, remember, carries over. So negative 7 minus 3 is negative 10. And then I still have b minus 1 on the bottom. Okay, what's next? Next up, we're going to cross multiply. So, I'm going to multiply here. I'm actually going to write it out like this for y'all. So, I know my b's look like 6's, sorry y'all. So I have b minus 1 times 6b minus 3. And when I cross multiply this way, I have b plus 2 times 6b, oh, looks horrible, sorry, 6b minus 10. Alright, now here comes the heavy math. We have to, some of you were taught FOIL, some of you were taught double distribution. It means the same thing. I'm going to take this b and I'm going to distribute it twice. So b times 6b is 6b squared. b times negative 3 is negative 3b. Do the same thing with negative 1. I'm going to distribute and distribute. So I get negative 6b. Here, a negative times a negative is a positive 3. I'm going to do the same thing on the right side. I'm going to distribute, distribute. So b times 6b is 6b squared. b times 10 is 10b. Take my 2, distribute it. 2 times 6 is 12b. 2 times 10 is 20. Alright, combining like terms. 6b squared, I'm going to bring this down. I can combine these b's. Negative 3 minus 6 is negative 9b. Bring down 6b squared. Combine my b's. Negative 10 plus 12 is 2. It's a positive 2, so put plus. When I move my 6b squared over, it's on the same side, so they're actually going to cancel, which is nice. I'm going to move my 9b over. From here you have a few options. I'm moving the 9b because I don't like negatives. So why deal with negatives if you don't have to? So I'm going to add 9b. Notice I lined it up under the 2b because you have to combine like terms with like terms. So I got a 3 left. 2 plus 9 is 11b. Now I'm going to move my 20 over by adding 20. So I get 23 equals 11b. Divide by 11. And b equals, if you do that in your calculator, you'll get a crazy long decimal, which we don't like. So b is just 23 over 11. So pause this, go try number 8 on your worksheet. I'm going to stop this video here because I'm sure you are tired and I am tired, so we're going to take a break and I'll do a new video to get you through 9 through 16.